grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Salem, Oregon, a place where Halloween isn't just a holiday, it's practically a month-long event. Every house decorates, every lawn has a fog machine, and every kid grows up thinking Halloween night is supposed to be magical. But when I turned 19, Halloween became something I'd rather erase from my memory forever. My family still lives in the same blue, one-story house at the end of Willow Creek Road. We've always been the family that goes big for Halloween. Giant inflatables, orange string lights, bowls of candy sitting on every surface. That's why, at first, my parents didn't think twice when the doorbell camera caught something strange. The first year, it was 2019. My mom woke me up the next morning and showed me the footage on her phone, saying it was creepy, but probably just some weirdo messing around. At 2:13 a.m., a man stepped into view. He didn't approach the door or knock. He just stood there, completely still. He wore a dirty gray hoodie, jeans, and what looked like construction boots. His hood was up, and he kept his head lowered just enough so the camera couldn't catch his face. He didn't move for almost 7 minutes. When a car drove past, he stepped backward into the dark and disappeared. My dad shrugged it off. Probably some drunk guy from the bars downtown. It's Halloween. People get weird. And that was it. We forgot about it. Until next Halloween, October 31st, 2020. My mom checked the camera the next morning like a joke. "Let's see if the creeper came back," she said. When the footage loaded, everyone went silent. Same hour, same position, same clothes, same behavior. 2:11 a.m. He stepped into frame, stood still, head down, breathing slow and steady as if he were listening for something inside the house. He stayed for 9 minutes this time. Then he backed away and vanished off camera. We called the police, but with the footage too dark and the man not doing anything technically illegal, there wasn't much they could do. "Probably someone who thinks your decorations look cool," they said. Harmless. But something about him didn't feel harmless. There's a difference between weird and dangerous, and every instinct I had was screaming that this was the second one. By the third year, we didn't even decorate. My dad said it was because he was tired of the work, but I could tell it was fear. Quiet fear, the kind that sits in the room like humidity. My mom still bought candy, she always does, but she kept the porch light low and the blinds half closed. That night, I stayed awake on purpose. I wasn't going to pretend it wasn't happening anymore. I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the live feed from the doorbell camera. Midnight, nothing. 1 a.m., nothing. 2 a.m., nothing. My body was tense, my breathing shallow. I kept telling myself maybe the guy wouldn't show this year. Maybe it was over. At 2:12 a.m., the motion alert chimed. My stomach dropped. He was there. Same hoodie, same posture, same unnatural stillness. Except this time, something was different. He lifted his head. Just a little, enough for the camera to catch a glimpse of his face. Except it wasn't a glimpse. He raised his head all the way until he was staring directly into the camera lens, eyes wide open. I froze. He didn't blink. He didn't move. He just stared, like he knew I was watching live. I could see his face clearly. Pale skin, cracked lips, deep-set eyes that looked almost bruised. He looked exhausted, or sick, or not fully alive. After 10 seconds, he tilted his head slowly, like a curious dog. Then he smiled. Not wide, just a small, tight curl of his lips, as if he were finally acknowledging me. I slammed the window blinds down and backed away. My heartbeat was pounding in my ears. I almost called 911, but something told me not to. Not yet. I needed to understand what he was doing. I forced myself to look back at the screen. He raised his hand. At first, I thought he was waving, but then I realized he wasn't waving. He was tracing something on the air, right in front of the camera. A shape, a pattern, a circle, then a line through it, a symbol, and then, clear as day, in a voice soft enough that the microphone barely picked it up, he whispered, "I'm not here for them." He leaned closer. "I'm here for you." My body went cold instantly. Because here's the detail that still keeps me awake. I didn't live there anymore. I had moved out 3 months earlier. I was only visiting for Halloween week. He shouldn't have known I was there. He shouldn't have known anything about me, and yet he did. Before I could process any of it, he stepped backward into the darkness. And like the years before he vanished, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong, because that night was the last time he stood on our porch. But it wasn't the last time he found me. For the next few days, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face inches from the camera, those hollow eyes, that unnatural stillness, the way he whispered like he already knew my name. I tried to convince myself he was just some disturbed guy fixated on our house, but the way he said, "I'm here for you," that wasn't random. That wasn't guesswork. It was intent. After Halloween weekend, I returned to my apartment in Portland. I didn't tell my roommates anything. They would have laughed. Or worse, they would have believed me, and believing made it real. But on November 3rd, something happened that forced everything into the open. I came home from a late shift at work around midnight. My apartment building is one of those old, 3-story brick places with long hallways that echo too easily. I remember walking up the stairs, exhausted, wanting nothing more than sleep. And then I saw it, a piece of paper taped to my door. Not a note. A printed screenshot. A screenshot from my parents' doorbell camera. The shot was from last year before he ever looked at the camera. There he was, standing in the dark, hood up, head down. But someone had circled his face in red marker, even though you couldn't see his features. Underneath, written in messy handwriting, "Do you remember me?" My legs went weak. My keys dropped from my hand and clattered on the floor. I looked down the hallway. Nothing. Not a sound. Not a shadow. But I suddenly felt watched. Not by a camera. Not by a person inside an apartment. No, watched from the dark end of the hallway, where the lights flickered and the stairwell gaped open like a mouth. I grabbed the paper, shoved myself into my apartment, and locked the door twice. That night, I slept with the lights on. The next morning, I went straight to the building manager, hoping maybe someone saw something, anything. He checked the security footage from the hallway. At 11:41 p.m., a tall figure in a gray hoodie walked down the hall toward my room. He didn't knock, didn't pause. He taped the paper to my door, turned around, and walked away. I stared at the blurry footage, praying it wasn't him praying. It was someone playing a stupid prank. But the worst part, it wasn't the hoodie. It wasn't the shape of him. It was the movement. That slow, deliberate, unhurried way he walked. Like time didn't apply to him. Like gravity didn't matter. It was identical to how he moved on our porch in Salem. I left the office shaking. I didn't want to involve my parents. They already had enough fear tied to Halloween. But as the sun went down that night, my phone buzzed. It was a text. No number, just unknown. A photo, a picture of my apartment building, but not from the street. From the fire escape across from my window, taken from maybe 20 feet away. My bedroom lights were on. And there I was in the picture, sitting at my desk, completely unaware. I dropped the phone. My breath caught in my throat. Someone had been right outside my window, watching me, photographing me, and I never heard a sound. That's when I made the mistake of calling my mom. She panicked instantly, insisting I come home, telling me she knew something was wrong since the first year he appeared. But it wasn't until she said one specific sentence that everything clicked. "Honey, he never looked at your dad or me. Every year, even before you saw the footage, he always stood at the angle facing your old bedroom." I felt sick. Because back then, 2019, 2020, I wasn't living at home much anymore. I was out with friends, staying with my girlfriend, barely around. He wasn't randomly standing there. He wasn't obsessed with my family. He was waiting for me. And he had been waiting for years. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat upright in bed, lights on, knife on the bedside table like it would make any difference. At 3:14 a.m., my phone buzzed again. One message. "Come outside." I froze. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Another message came through, seconds later. "You came outside every Halloween as a kid, don't you remember?" How could he know that? How could he know anything about me, my habits, my childhood, my routines? My heart felt like it would rupture. I got up slowly and edged toward the curtains. I hesitated, then pulled them back 2 inches. He was standing in the middle of the street. Same hoodie, same posture, same stillness. But this time his hood was down, and he was staring directly at my window. He wasn't blinking, not once. His skin was waxy, almost gray. His hair was wet, dripping down his forehead even though it hadn't rained for days. And his eyes, they didn't reflect light, they absorbed it, like two pits. He raised his hand and pointed upward, not at me, behind me. I spun around. My bedroom door was open. I had shut it. I know I had shut it. I rushed toward the hallway and flicked on every light in the apartment. No one was there, no sound, nothing. When I looked back outside, he was gone. Completely gone. Not walking away, not running, just gone. I moved out a week later. New number, new job, new state. I haven't been home for Halloween since, but last year, on October 31st, my mom called me. She sounded terrified. "He came back," she whispered. My heart stopped. He stood on the porch again. Same time, same clothes, same everything. I swallowed hard. "Mom, did he do anything?" She hesitated. He looked at the camera, and he shook his head, like he was disappointed. I didn't speak. I couldn't. And then, she whispered, "He said something, very soft." I replayed it 10 times, I'm sure of it. My mouth felt dry. What did he say? My mom exhaled shakily. "Not here, not him. Now I have to find where he went." She wasn't talking to me. She was repeating what he said. His voice, his message. He wasn't telling them anything. He wasn't warning them. He was talking to me. Wherever I go, whatever state I move to, however far I run, I know one thing with absolute certainty. Next Halloween, he'll find me again. He always does, and he always will. I was 16 when it happened, old enough to think I wasn't a kid anymore, but still stupid enough to believe nothing bad could happen on Halloween. Back then, my friends and I still went trick-or-treating, mostly for the fun of it, and partly because wandering around at night in costumes made us feel older than we really were. That year, Halloween 2018, there were 5 of us. Me, my best friend Lucas, our neighbor twins, Mia and Maddie, and this new kid at school, Aaron. We didn't know him well, but he dressed as a vampire and carried himself like he wanted to prove he wasn't scared of anything. It was still warm for late October in Colorado, the kind of night where your breath barely fogs and the streets feel too alive. Kids were running around everywhere, porch lights glowing orange, fake fog drifting across lawns, parents laughing from driveways. It felt like the safest night of the whole year, and that's what made all of us drop our guard. We started in our neighborhood and planned to walk to the next subdivision over bigger houses, better candy, fewer little kids clogging the sidewalks. Around 8 p.m., things started to slow. Families went home, streets emptied, the air got colder, and that's when we first noticed the van. A gray, beat-up utility van. No windows except in the front, no logo, no plates. Just blank. It crawled down the street and passed us slowly. Headlights dim, engine rumbling like it barely worked. "Creeper van," Lucas whispered, laughing nervously. The rest of us laughed too, because that's what teenagers do. We joke first, fear later. The van rolled past us and turned the corner. We figured it was nothing. We kept walking. 7 minutes later, the van passed us again. Same slow crawl, same dim headlights. This time, it didn't turn. It took the long way around the block, driving ahead of us before disappearing again. "Maybe he's dropping someone off," Mia said. "Yeah," Aaron added, "or maybe he's lost." But something felt wrong. Even at 16, you can feel when something is watching you, following you, studying you. We crossed into the next neighborhood, Maple Ridge. Big homes, darker streets, fewer decorations. The kind of place where families stop giving out candy early because they turn in at 9 p.m. By then, only a few porch lights were still on. We knocked at a couple of houses, filled our bags a little more, and tried to shake off the weird feeling. Then, as we walked past a long stretch of houses with no lights on, we heard an engine behind us. Slow, steady, crawling. We turned around, the gray van again, except this time, it didn't pass us. It stayed behind us. Same distance, same speed. Okay, that's actually weird, Maddie whispered. Don't look at it, I said. Just keep walking. But Aaron, of course, turned around and raised his voice. Hey, you need something? The van didn't respond, didn't honk, didn't speed up or slow down, just followed. Lucas grabbed my arm. Dude, what the hell? We tried to stay calm, but every step felt heavier, every breath colder. The van kept trailing behind us for 2 full blocks. No closer, no farther. Like it was hurting us. Let's cut through Birch Lane, I suggested. There's a house with lights on there. Maybe a family is still outside. We took the corner fast, almost jogging. The van didn't follow, at least not around the corner. Instead, it stopped. We heard the engine idle behind the houses, purring like a predator waiting. Run? Mia whispered. Not yet, Lucas said. If we run and he chases... If? Aaron cut in. He already chased us. That's when we heard it. The engine revving once, not moving, just revving, as if to say, I know where you are. We started walking faster, almost running, but trying not to look scared. We reached the house with lights on a big 2-story place with orange string lights still shining and a fake skeleton on the porch. A family was inside watching TV. We could see the flicker through the windows. Let's pretend we're trick-or-treating, Lucas said. If he's watching, maybe he'll back off. We walked up to the door, rang the bell, and waited. No answer. The lights were on, but no one came. I rang again. Still nothing. Guys, Maddie whispered. He moved. The van was now parked across the street. Engine off. No lights. But we could see a faint silhouette in the driver's seat, sitting, watching, completely still. Okay, I whispered. We go to the next house. There has to be someone awake. We moved as a group, trying to look normal. The van didn't turn on, didn't move, but the shape inside leaned forward, watching us walk. We knocked on another door. No answer. Another. No answer. It felt like the whole neighborhood was suddenly empty, silent, abandoned. Something's wrong, Lucas said, voice cracking. This doesn't feel like Halloween anymore. That's when the van's engine roared back to life. Headlights flicked on, and slowly, very slowly, it began rolling toward us. Run. That was the last thing I said before everything turned to chaos. We sprinted down the street, bags of candy slamming against our legs, adrenaline burning through every nerve. The van accelerated behind us, not fast, but steady, controlled. He didn't want to hit us. He wanted to catch us. We reached the intersection and turned right, heading toward a cul-de-sac with a single house still lit. A house with carved pumpkins glowing bright on the porch. A house that felt like the last safe point on a map. We ran toward it like our lives depended on it. But then halfway down the street, we froze. Because standing under the streetlight, facing us, was a 6th person. A person wearing a white angel costume. A costume none of us recognized. A costume none of us had seen all night. And whoever it was, they were standing completely still, watching us. Like they'd been waiting. The person in the angel costume stood perfectly still beneath the streetlight, their white robe glowing in the orange halo of the lamp like something unreal. The wings on their back weren't the flimsy, feathery kind kids wore. They looked stiff, almost sculpted, as if carved. The mask was what froze all of us in place. It wasn't a plastic, store-bought angel face. It was blank. Completely blank, smooth white with no eyes, no mouth, no features at all. Just a faceless angel, staring without staring. Behind us, the van crept forward, engine humming low, slow, patient. We were trapped between the two. "What do we do?" Maddie whispered, voice shaking. No one answered. The angel tilted its head, just a few degrees slow, deliberate. Almost like it was studying us, the way a hunter studies an animal trying to find an escape route. Then it lifted one hand. Pale glove, fingers long and thin. It didn't point. It beckoned, a slow curl of 2 fingers, calling us closer. That snapped us free. "Run around it," Lucas hissed. So we sprinted not toward the angel, but to the left, through a dark patch of grass between 2 houses. The van revved behind us. I didn't look back, not once. I just ran. We cut through backyards, leaping over garden hoses, stumbling on tree roots, knocking over lawn chairs. Dogs barked, lights flicked on in windows as we barreled past. But no one came outside. No one opened a door. Halloween night had become a ghost town, and behind everything, the van's engine, slow at first, then growing louder as it found the street parallel to us. Every turn we took, it matched. Every time we crossed a yard, it reappeared on the next road. It was hunting us in a grid. We finally reached a narrow strip of woods behind the neighborhood and dove in without thinking. Branches slapped our faces. Leaves crunched under our feet. I could barely breathe. My lungs felt like they were tearing. "Don't stop," Aaron yelled. But then we heard something worse than the van's engine. Footsteps. Heavy ones. In the woods. Running behind us. Too heavy to be a kid. Too fast to be someone wearing a mask. Lucas grabbed my arm. "There are two of them," he choked out. "The van guy and the angel." I didn't want to believe him, but when I looked back, I saw something white flicker between the trees. Not fabric blowing. Not moonlight. Something moving. Something pursuing. We burst out of the woods into another cul-de-sac, Oak Ridge Court. A dead end. Only one house had lights on. A porch glowing warm yellow, pumpkins burning bright. "Go!" I yelled. "Get to the porch!" We scrambled up the steps and pounded on the door. "Help! Please! Open up! Someone's after us!" No answer. The TV was on inside. Shadows moved. Someone was home. But the door never opened. The woods behind us fell silent. Completely silent. The van engine cut too. Just gone. The quiet was worse than the chase. Lucas whispered, "Where'd they go?" Then Maddie screamed. I spun around just in time to see the angel standing at the end of the driveway. Not walking, not running, just appearing there. Like it stepped out of the darkness itself. Same blank mask, same stiff wings, same slow head tilt. But now there was something in its hand. A lollipop, orange and black. The kind given out in cheap candy bags. The kind Maddie had handed out earlier that night. The angel lifted the lollipop toward us and tilted its head farther. The movement too sharp, too unnatural. "What do you want?" Aaron shouted. The angel didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, holding that candy like an offering. And then its free hand lifted and pointed behind us. Toward the house we were banging on. Toward the window. We turned, and that's when the truth hit. The silhouette in the living room wasn't a person watching TV. It was a dummy. A mannequin dressed in flannel and jeans, propped on the couch. A speaker on the floor played the sound of a TV show. The lights were on a timer. The house was staged to look lived in, but it wasn't. It was empty, completely empty, as if someone wanted it that way. Wanted a safe place that wasn't safe at all. Wanted kids to run there. Behind us, we heard the van engine rumble back to life. The angel stepped aside slowly, like it was making room, allowing the van to pull into the cul-de-sac, like they were working together. "Go to the backyard," I yelled. We vaulted the porch railing, scrambled across the lawn, and threw ourselves over the back fence. We didn't stop running until we reached the far end of the woods, closer to our own neighborhood. The van never followed into the trees again. The angel never appeared. By the time we made it home, we were shaking, crying, barely making words. Our parents called the police. A patrol car searched the area, but found nothing. No van, no angel, no footprints, no disturbed dirt in the woods. Nothing. Except one thing. The officers found a single piece of candy at the edge of the woods. A lollipop, orange and black. Same as the one held by the angel. They bagged it as evidence. 2 days later, detectives came back. They interviewed each of us individually, asking the same question over and over. "Who was the sixth person with your group? The one in the white costume?" Every time, we answered the same thing. There was no sixth person. We were 5. Only 5. But the detectives insisted. They had doorbell footage from a house on Birch Lane. Low angle, grainy, but clear enough. It showed us running, terrified. And behind us, not far back, a figure in white, not chasing, just walking, slow, purposeful, as if following us. But here's the detail that made the detective's hands shake when he paused the video. The angel wasn't facing forward. It was turned completely toward the camera, mask tilted, watching, not us, watching the person filming, as if it knew the camera was there, as if it wanted to be seen. And the detective said one more thing, almost in a whisper. We checked trick-or-treat complaints across the county. Every group of kids reported seeing the same van, but only your group, he swallowed hard, reported seeing the angel. I still don't know what followed us that night. I don't know who or what was driving that van. But every Halloween since then, I refused to go out after dark. Because whatever that angel was, it wasn't wearing a costume. And I don't think the van was hunting random kids. I think they were looking for someone specific. And I think they thought that someone was me. I was 11 when my little brother and I got lost on Halloween night. It wasn't supposed to happen. We'd lived in the same Minnesota neighborhood our whole lives, biking the streets every summer, selling lemonade on corners, running back and forth between the same 6 houses. But Halloween changes places. Streets look different, houses shift in the dark. The same yard you played tag in suddenly feels sharper, hungrier. That night, Halloween 2011, our parents let us go trick-or-treating alone for the first time. I was old enough, they said. Responsible. I'd been watching my brother Noah since he could walk. We set out just after sunset, both of us hyped on way too much sugar already. He was dressed as Buzz Lightyear, helmet and all. I wore a cheap black cloak with plastic bones glued to the sleeves, something my grandparents thought looked cool. It didn't, but I didn't care. For the first hour, everything was normal. Kids shrieking, porch lights flickering, the sound of leaves crunching under dozens of tiny shoes, parents with coffee mugs trailing behind. But around 8:45, the neighborhood started emptying. Lights clicked off, one by one. Decorations went dark. Families headed home. And somewhere between Birchwood Lane and the cul-de-sac at Pine Hill Drive, we took a wrong turn. I still don't understand how. We weren't far from home, maybe 3 blocks. But when we turned onto a narrow road I didn't recognize, lined with tall hedges and no street lamps, my stomach tightened. I don't like this street, Noah whispered. He squeezed my hand. We'll just cut through, I told him. It's fine. But the farther we walked, the stranger it felt. The houses were wrong, too tall, too narrow. No cars in driveways, no pumpkins, no porch lights, just windows darkened, reflective, like blind eyes staring back at us. We were about to turn around when we saw it. A house glowing at the end of the road, not decorated like the others, over-decorated. Pumpkins covered the porch, dozens of them all, carved with different faces. Some smiling, some screaming, some blank. Their candlelight flickered unnaturally bright, almost electric. Fake cobwebs hung from the gutters, thick and glistening like real silk. Orange lights framed the door, and above it all stood a tall witch statue holding a tray of candy. Except when we got closer, it wasn't a statue. It was a woman, an old woman wearing a long black dress and a pointed hat, standing perfectly still beside the bowl of candy like she'd been waiting for us all night. "Well, hello there," she said, smiling wide. "Too wide, teeth too white. Out late, aren't we?" I froze. Something about her voice made me feel like she wasn't talking to us. She was talking at us. Like she already knew everything she needed, who we were, where we lived, the exact moment we turned down her street. Noah tugged my arm. "Let's go back," he whispered. But the woman laughed softly. "Nonsense. You made it all the way here. Come get some treats before you head home." Then she stepped aside from the doorway. The house behind her glowed warm and inviting, lights on, fireplace flickering, silhouettes moving inside like a busy family hosting a Halloween party. For a moment, I believed it. I wanted to believe it. We hadn't had luck at the last few houses people had turned off their lights. Maybe this lady was one of those last-minute Halloween enthusiasts who wanted to make kids happy. But something about her eyes, dark, unfocused, not blinking, told me to run. Noah reached for my hand again. "I'm scared," he said quietly. "Let's just go." I nodded. "Thank you," I told the woman, pulling my brother backward. "But we..." Before I could finish, every pumpkin on the porch went out all at once. The lights in the house behind her flickered hard, once, twice, then steadied. Except the silhouettes inside were gone. The house looked empty now, hollow. Even the fireplace light had changed. It now flickered cold blue instead of orange. The woman didn't move. Not an inch. Not her face. Not her eyes. She just stood there, smile frozen, unnaturally high on her cheeks. "You should come inside," she said slowly. "It's too dark out there for children." My legs felt like concrete. My brain screamed at me to run, but my body wouldn't listen. The woman tilted her head. "There are things in the dark you don't want to meet," she whispered the last part, leaning forward. And then, without turning her head, she murmured, "One of them is behind you," Noah whimpered. I grabbed him and spun around. There was nothing, just the hedge-lined road, silent, empty. But when I looked back at the porch, she was gone. No door slamming, no footsteps, no rustling fabric, just gone. The bowl of candy sat on the porch alone, brim full. The house behind it completely dark now, every window blackened. "We need to go," I whispered. We backed away, step by step, until we reached the road again. Then we ran. Not home, not toward the neighborhood we recognized, just ran. I didn't look back, the whole time feeling like something was pacing us just outside the tree line. Something that wasn't human. We burst out onto Willow Bend Road, a street we'd never seen before. The houses were spaced far apart. No cars, no lights, no decorations. Like the whole street had been abandoned for years. "Where are we?" Noah cried. I didn't know. I still don't. We saw a police cruiser around 10:30 p.m. The officer asked what we were doing so far from home, why we were alone, why we were running. I couldn't answer. I just pointed back toward the direction we came from, gasping, "A woman, a house, pumpkins." He drove us home. Our parents were hysterical. They said we'd been missing for almost 2 hours. 2 hours we couldn't explain. 2 hours we shouldn't have been able to walk as far as we did. The next morning, I insisted we drive back. I needed to prove the house was real, that the woman was real, that something had happened. But when we reached the end of that hedge-lined road, there was nothing. No glowing house, no pumpkins, no decorations, just an empty lot, overgrown grass, a for sale sign half buried in dirt, like nothing had ever been built there at all. My parents told me we were confused, that we were lost, that I imagined the house, that Noah panicked, and I followed. But I know what we saw. I know what we heard. And I know one more thing because of what happened exactly 1 year later. Noah disappeared again on Halloween night, and this time, he didn't come back. Noah disappeared on Halloween 2012, exactly 1 year after we saw the house that shouldn't have existed. He was only 9. People in town whispered that he wandered off, that he got confused, that kids get lost on Halloween all the time. But I knew better, because for weeks before Halloween, he kept telling me he saw pumpkins lighting up in places they shouldn't be on empty lawns, at the edge of the woods, along the ditch near our school. "It's her," he whispered one night, sitting on my bed, shaking. "She's looking for us." I told him it was just his imagination. I told him none of that was real. I told him the house wasn't real. But I was lying. To him, to myself, to everyone. On Halloween night, our parents took us trick-or-treating together. They refused to let us out of their sight. My dad held Noah's hand the entire walk from house to house. Around 8:30, the neighborhood started to quiet down. I was feeling better, safer, like maybe last year really had been some bizarre nightmare mixed with childhood panic. But then Noah stopped walking, completely froze in the middle of the sidewalk. His hand slipped out of my dad's. "No," he whispered. Not scared, not confused, sorrowful, like he knew something was coming and couldn't stop it. "No, no, no," she found us. Before any of us could react, he took off running. I chased after him, screaming his name, my parents behind me. Porch lights blurred past. Costumed kids stepped out of the way. The colder air burned my lungs as I sprinted. Noah ran faster than I'd ever seen him run, straight through our neighborhood, straight into the dark connecting path that led toward the woods. "No! Stop!" I screamed until my throat tore. He didn't stop. He didn't even look back. I reached the edge of the woods just in time to see it. A glow, a faint one, orange, flickering. Not from a flashlight, not from a house, from pumpkins. A line of carved pumpkins lighting a trail between the trees. Perfectly spaced, perfectly carved, perfectly identical to the ones we saw last year, and at the end of the glowing trail stood the house. The same house. The one that wasn't there in daylight. The one that didn't exist. Sitting in the middle of the woods, as if it had always been waiting, every window glowing warmly, smoke rising from the chimney that hadn't been there that morning, pumpkins lining the porch, hundreds of them faces twisted in expressions that looked almost alive. Noah ran straight toward it, straight toward the front steps, and standing at the door exactly where she stood last year was the woman. Same dress, same hat, same too wide smile. "No!" I screamed, sprinting after him. The woman opened her arms like she was greeting a lost child. Noah reached her first. She bent down just slightly, placed her hand gently on his shoulder, and they both stepped inside. The door slammed shut, the glow vanished. The pumpkins went dark all at once. By the time I reached the porch, the house was gone. Just gone. Not faded, not crumbled. 1 second it was there, warm, alive, glowing, and the next, it evaporated like smoke in the night. I collapsed into the dirt, clawing at the ground, screaming until my voice quit. My parents didn't find me for 10 minutes. They called the police. Search teams combed the woods for days. Dogs tracked nothing. Helicopters scanned the trees. Volunteers searched every path within miles. Noah was never found. No shoes. No clothes. No signs of struggle. Nothing. It was like he stepped off the earth. The worst part wasn't the disappearance. It was the police dog handler, a seasoned guy, 20 years on the job, who pulled my mom aside after the 3rd day of searching. He said the dogs kept freezing near the clearing where I last saw the house, whining. Tails tucked, refusing to move forward. "They don't do that unless they detect something unnatural," he whispered. I didn't sleep for years, not really. Every Halloween after, I refused to leave the house after dark. I kept watch from my bedroom window. I kept expecting to see that glow in the woods again. Some nights I thought I did. Flickers, shapes, shadows moving where shadows shouldn't. But it was the 4th Halloween, the year I turned 15, when it happened again. At 12:03 a.m., I woke up to a soft tapping at my window. 3 slow taps. Pause. 3 more. I sat up, heart pounding. The blinds were closed. I didn't want to look. I knew I shouldn't look. But the tapping came again, this time accompanied by something worse. A child's voice. Soft. Familiar. "Let me in." My chest tightened. The voice came again, shakier this time. "Please, it's cold." My breath broke. It was Noah's voice. Exactly his voice. Exactly the way he sounded when he was 9. I forced myself to stand. Forced myself to walk to the window. My hands trembled as I lifted the blinds. And there he was, standing in the glow of a single pumpkin sitting on our porch railing. Buzz Lightyear helmet. Same scuffed shoes. Same gap-toothed smile. Except not the same. His skin was too pale. Too smooth. Eyes too glassy, reflecting candlelight without blinking. And behind him, just barely visible at the edge of the porch, was the woman. Tall, still, watching, smiling. "Come outside," Noah whispered. "She said you can come too. She said we have to go together this time." I dropped the blinds and stumbled backward, choking on my breath. My parents came running into the room, flipping on the lights, demanding to know why I was screaming. When my dad ran outside, bat in hand, there was nothing on the porch. No boy, no woman, no pumpkin. Only one thing remained. A trail of small footprints in the dew on the grass. Noah's footprints, leading toward the woods. Leading toward the place where the house had been. And next to those prints, larger ones. Deep. Heel first. As if someone had been standing there watching for a long, long time. I don't know what the house is, or what that woman is, or what she took my brother for. But every Halloween since, I hear tapping on my window around midnight. Always 3 slow taps. Always followed by that same small voice. "It's dark out here. Let me in." Every year, the voice sounds a little less like Noah, and a little more like something wearing him.